Thank you very much, Professor Chan, Mr. J, Mr. Beck, Mr. Kim, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me also express my deepest regret for the tragedy that happened last Friday. I'm very thankful that being invited again this year, and this year again in person, and see so many familiar faces and good friends here in Korea, and give a speech today about the global update of industry-grade private wireless networks. This is the terminology we use in our company to designate the use of LTE and 5G technologies for industry applications. I will first give an overview about the different application and segments that is used, what are the real use cases, what are reasons why in different sectors it is chosen to deploy LTE and 5G. I will give a little bit of a market overview of the different segments from a Nokia perspective as the vendor who's leading that market globally. And I will also add on what Mr. Kim of the GSMA is saying about the opportunity for operators in that space. I think the world has quite evolved in the thinking of the win-win of both sides in that segment. Then I will get a bit more concrete on a couple of use cases. Mr. Beck from the MSIT has already mentioned that. I personally am from Germany, and so I will bring here with me two use cases from Germany, as well as a brief mentioning of the use cases on the urban aerial mobility here in the Seoul area. And lastly, talking about the technology enhancements from LTE to 5G, how this enables more and more use cases. So here, what are the reasons why industry asks for private wireless networks? So we see in principle four major segments. The one is the energy segment, where you see at the left, for example, this windmill farm. And all these reasons here that you see are directly coming from our customers in real commercial deployments. And of course, only highlighting a number of these reasons, to maintain the grid reliability. Now with the tightened energy situations, in particular where I come from Europe now, the maintenance of the stability of the electricity grid is a clear requirement sector. And then maybe also energy related to next to that, there is a mining pit displayed here, where we have a customer who is then open field mining and use then autonomous trucks and private wireless to guide them. You see in this case, and also in a number of these use cases here on the slides, fixed Wi-Fi related issues, replace Wi-Fi with more reliable connectivity. And this is sort of not from us as a vendor a push, but this is very clearly what we hear from our customers, why they come to us, because Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 6 is just not giving for these more operational and mission critical use cases the reliability that they need. So other than the energy sector, we have the transportation sector. So there in the middle, you see here symbolically an airport. So, and I bring one of the use cases in the transportation sector later with me, that also Mr. Beck had mentioned, the Lufthansa technology in Hamburg, in Germany. And then in transportation, there is also, of course, both the use cases of more industry and maintenance, as well as the what we call PMR type applications, especially in airfield. Next, we have the public sector, which you see to the very right, for example, in fact, the sector which has developed for quite some time with the LTE for public safety, and where we need enhanced group communication features. We have the transmission of video service for police and first responders. And then last but not least, manufacturing and supply chains and logistic, where we see, and I have one example as well from Germany with the Arena 236 that we deploy in smart manufacturing, 5G increasingly for use cases such as the robot and lot size 1 and automated guided vehicle. So how does the market look like? There was some mentioning also in Mr. Kim's presentation of our cases. So it has grown to this 475 that you were mentioning. So it is over 500 customers now listed to these 4 main segments. So they are almost at equal size, roughly transportation, energy, public sector and manufacturing, and then some other use cases. They are globally in all advanced markets, as we see that. And we see almost half of them is sort of direct, where customers come to us to deploy that mostly in a digital automated cloud, and also indirect. And when I speak of indirect here, it is in majority via communication service provider operators. So this is a market which has the potential for both deployments, and we see logic for both. Maybe as we are here, one reason also why this is an opportunity for operators, and I was joking a little bit before with Mr. Kim that I think the view also of the operator community has evolved in the last 2 or 3 years to see this as an opportunity, and there are of course strong assets. The one is they are the strong brand in the country, the influence on the market. So if somebody turns to communication solutions, the operators is the logical choice. They have, of course, the expertise behind that in the engineering department to set up a network that provides the quality needed. They have, of course, the existing business service division that all do strong business with enterprises, and now extending that from communication to people to now more the operational part of the business. And then depending on countries, they have the spectrum. So there are often countries where there is some sublease model, for example, then all of the spectrum, especially in the mid-bands, are then given to operators. And then there is a sublease model which they can use. And of course, the access to the public mobile network is key for many use cases, as well as the support. We hear that very often if the network needs to be deployed and needs to be serviced. Of course, operators are known for a strong 24/7 support. And now I zoom in 3 use cases, 2 from Germany that also Mr. Beck had mentioned. So the one is what's called Arena 2036, which is in Stuttgart, the home of companies like Bosch and Mercedes and Porsche and the like. So they're really the home of car and also industrial companies. And what is that arena doing? That is an experimental platform that is both for mobility, because it's a car sector, as well for smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0 research. And we are delighted to have been chosen as the technology provider for 5G in here. So how does this solution look like? So this is a 5G private wireless solution which covers at the bottom right, you see the factory, covers that. It has a radio, both a micro for outdoor usage and then 2 picos for the indoor usage. Then also the core network, the edge core and the baseband processes is local because privacy is of key concern. And of course, we have the full portfolio and also provide, beside the private wireless, the critical optical solutions. And what is the approach? It is to address in this collaborative manner with some of these globally known industry leaders in manufacturing and in smart mobility, real-world problem. I think Mr. Kim also mentioned how important precise location is, and that is certainly one of the use cases that we were studying with our own innovation, that we get into several of centimeters for the vehicles that are used in the manufacturing process. This is a very interesting and insightful activity. Another area is in aviation. There is a domain in aviation which is called MRO, which is called maintenance, repair, and overhaul. So everything which is the technology on planes and so on. And we see this is rather similar to an industry 4.0 type application, but here specific to aviation. So this is sort of the vision that we see, that there is a full digital maintenance, repair, and overhaul. So that's what we call this also MRO 4.0, in line with the industry 4.0. And it started with the automated shop floor to have processes, and I go in concrete example. And then, of course, the workers are connected, and all the logistics, like the assets, are smartly managed. And we started that in just before the pandemic. We had with Lufthansa Technik, so this is a subsidiary of Lufthansa, but it serves not only Lufthansa, but it has customers of all different airlines that come to Hamburg, Germany, to maintain make this MRO for the airplanes. And we started with that in 2019, at the end of 2019 and beginning 2020, as an experimental system. So what you see here, the woman, she is showing a turbine inspection, and typically this is very security relevant. This has to be really on spot, because then the client, which are airlines, then have to accept the maintenance. And of course, this, as aviation, has a high reliability and safety aspect, as we all know. And they started this we started this as a trial, but then hit the pandemic, and everything stopped in this world, especially also the traveling also of the customers from Lufthansa Technik to Hamburg. And so they made this really as a commercial service very on. So it provided a clear business continuity. So the customers couldn't come anymore to inspect that. So they had the reliability of that system. And now that the COVID was in its hard time is over, the pandemic, Lufthansa chose to continue that as a commercial service. It is showing with this example how first COVID accelerated the digital transformation, and how this really solved a very concrete problem. And here again, also Lufthansa said they had been looking for earlier with Wi-Fi, but they didn't get. There's a lot of metal involved, as you see here, with the turbines and all the parts of the airplane that are inspected, that they just didn't get the quality in that. And they were very pleased after now these 2 years, and you can see the video on YouTube with the customer testimony, that there was not a single downturn, and it provides really a good commercial service. Now that the pandemic is over, half of their customers chose to only stay on that, half still chose to come to Hamburg for the inspection. And then last, I mean, I don't want to speak too much because there's a whole session on that, but just to say how thankful we are to be involved in this very transformative project of urbanism and aviation in Korea, and Seoul area specific, the urban air mobility. And this starts with the 4G and then 5G. And our technology is then in support of our customers, SKT and KT, the communication backhaul and the intelligence for that system to control, but also to have the passenger communication. So I think we will hear on that more after the break. And we are doing, at the moment, we are in the first phase where we then do coverage testing in the Gongyeong area. So as a last part, a bit the technology journey, as mentioned, the whole private wireless sector is really a transformation. Two days ago at the 6G session, there was a very good presentation from SK Telecom mentioning we have every 10 years a new generation, but only every 20 years a business transformation. So where maybe 3G and 4G was about mobile data. You can also say you had a bit of mobile data on 2G. Similar is true then for 5G and going forward, that this is then offering more of these mission-critical enterprise and private applications. And also here you can say, well, it started even a little bit before the 5th generation with LTE. And we see, of course, if you go further with the technology journey, there are more and more use cases which are enabled here. Here right now with a focus of smart manufacturing, but you could have like a similar journey if you look at the other sectors like transportation and so on. Of course, the more functionality we have, I will have a slide on that in a second, the more we can have high-speed, reliable use cases. But we have to start, like the Lufthansa case says, this is like a video case where latency is not so critical, but reliability and a clear image. And you start from there. And then you go into something like ultra-reliable, low latency, but you don't wait for everything to be there to make a meaningful use case. And here again is the technology journey from a standardization perspective. So with 5G, we start with release 15, which gives, of course, the foundation. And we saw how the market is evolving from non-standalone to standalone. It has all the frequencies and all the MIMO and the extreme mobile broadband, which we see for this video transmission case. And then the journey goes further, and 3GPP has done a lot, the standardization organization, to address the use cases of industrial 5G. In particular, without getting too technical, in particular on the connectivity side, everything which is related to ultra-reliable low latency. This is a journey of several releases. It's in the RAN. It is very, very technical to support that, to have the reliability, to have the redundancy, and as well as in the network side. But then also when we go to the machines, there is this time-sensitive networking. That means that we have bus-type protocols that are supported, in particular in the manufacturing. There is no IP which is run, but these Bosch and Siemens and others, they run specific protocols over Ethernet, so where there is a 5G is operating as an Ethernet here. And then, of course, being able to have a private network, which is called a non-public network in 3GPP. And then use cases in addition, which was also mentioned before, like for these more massive sensors and so on, functionality, which we are now standardizing, which is called NR-Lite. It has a bit reduced capability set. RedCap, which has a bit reduced capability so that it is more cost effective. So for modules, for example, in vehicles and in CCTV cameras. And as also was mentioned by Professor Chang, the 5G ACIA, where I'm a board member, plays a key role. It is an organization which has over 100 members throughout the world, also here in Korea, with a strong collaboration with the 5G Forum. And it is an organization which has achieved a lot, first in driving the agenda, creating the awareness. So there are a lot of operational technology companies involved. And then, of course, the journey is not finished. I think what was mentioned by the GSMA just now is the availability of devices. The normal devices, as we saw before, are available. What is missing are the devices which support what is a bit called as industrial 5G. Industrial 5G, that means in particular the UILC and the time-sensitive networking. So I think there is a market education which is needed, and then the integration with the shop floor. So this is more brownfield integration, knowing the protocols that are run in the industry sector, like OPCOA, like specific industry-relevant Ethernet protocols, and educating the market and extending the collaboration. So we just had a meeting in America and also a workshop with players there, and we will continue then next year in Japan. So to summarize, industry-grade private wireless network is a segment which has been started already, and we are happy to be the market leader in this sector from the vendor perspective. It addresses different segments as transport, energy, public sector, and manufacturing. And the use cases, the commercial use cases, start now, as we see, and they only get stronger as the technology advances. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.